Hey guys, welcome to my live. It is February 13th, 2024, approximately 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Had a little bit of technical difficulty with laptop updates tonight, so I'm just slightly delayed getting started. If you're catching me in my YouTube archive, I'm Artful Roger with a D, Rodger. And if you're here on TikTok for this live for the very first time, I'm archiving these lives on my YouTube channel, which is Artful Roger. Don't forget, if you're searching, put the D in Roger, Rodger. My parents did that to me. I had no choice in it. It's on my birth certificate. And yes, I have had to spell my name most of my life. So people who are reaching out to me saying I can't find you, it's because you are searching without a D. Don't forget the D. Good evening, Melissa. Welcome, Alan. Good to see your name again. I think some of you may have missed the live from my little pop-up rebellious live that I did for the Super Bowl when I was trying to be a naughty boy. Chipper Doodle. Paul. Oh my gosh, Paul's here. Paul, I see you. Tonight, I'm going to be a little better about looking at comments. I know some of you said that I did not see your comments. Nice new lamp. Yeah, I got to use them backwards. Yeah, another one of my creations. Thank you. Hello to everyone. Absolutely. Susie Cool. There you are. Susie Cool, do you attend other lives? But, I bet you're not the only Susie Cool. I just had popped into a live just to see what other people do on lives because I've never looked. I just do what I do and don't pay attention. But I did look in, and someone like me, someone who was doing a live said, hey, Susie Cool, how's it going? But Susie Cool may be a name that's out there in lots of places. Yeah. But I'm glad you're here, Susie. I'm glad. I'm drinking my Diet Coke, caffeine free, because, Gramps has got to go night-night tonight, so I don't want to be up too late. Yvonne, I'm glad you checked in. Guys, I appreciate you checking in here at the beginning of the live so I know who's here. Again, this thing is slated to go for a couple hours. It doesn't mean it's going to go 2 hours, and you certainly are not committed to staying on here because even though you're saying hello to me, it does not say goodbye, just so you know. You disappear, I'm the only one that talks, and I'm the only one that says goodbye. And you guys are hearing me okay? Let me check this. I think you are. Yes, indeed you are hearing me. Awesome. This little setup down here tonight, the laptop, unfortunately, I've been leaving on. Everything else in here goes off, but I just leave the laptop on because who cares? But it needed to do updates tonight, so during my setup, it kept shutting down on me. So hopefully it keeps going. I'm staying. Thank you. My day was a good day. It's been rainy, soggy, wet here in Atlanta for several days. And today the sun came out. It was very mild this afternoon. I think it was probably around 60, which was really nice. So yes, it's wonderful. I hope everyone else has had a good and a wonderful couple of days. Grandma, you're back. Snowy New Jersey. Yeah, you guys are getting your nor'easter is happening to you guys, I think. I saw that New York City is going to get about 6 inches of snow, which is significant for them. So, yes, snow is something I experienced in my youth. I only like snow days, which are like here in Atlanta. We haven't had a snow day in a while. One day, and the snow is goodbye. I love it like that. Hello from North Carolina. Hello to you, Denise. Welcome. Guys, if you aren't following me here on TikTok, please take an opportunity to follow me. I'm going to be transparent, and I'm going to be a little baby, and I'm going to tell you that I'm at 90,200 followers, and wouldn't it be nice if I had 100? Not that it matters, but it's just, let's round up to 100. Lately, because of my Christmas videos being gone, again, here's me, cue the tears. I am losing followers, actually, is what's happening right now. Slowly, they're leaking because the content, I'm kind of in this lull between Christmas time and the gardening season, which is coming up. So, yes. Beautiful day in Colorado. Susie Cool, awesome. Looking at the comments again. So, Mary Therese, yes, thank you for moderating tonight. Mary Therese will be very proud of me. I did go in and explore more of lives. I've been doing these lives, but not exploring any of any things you can do. I did put in some keywords to protect myself. So if there's certain kinds of things that happen here in the comments, they will be screened out before we have to deal with them. As you guys all know, I got a nice little smack on the hand from TikTok a few weeks ago. Yes, Paul, thank you for that. Love My Convertible is back. Love My VW convertible. So yeah, tonight I set up the title for this live to be This, That, the Other, because that's how I announced it this afternoon. And because my laptop had to restart and do updates, check-in is still there, which is what we did the other day. So I didn't get a chance to change it. So tonight is kind of about this, that, and the other. Yeah, too much wind inside day. Yeah, it was windy. It was a little bit windy here too. So Susie, you're not the Susie Cool. So guess what, Susie Cool? There's another Susie Cool out there. And I'm calling you Susie Cool, but it's not even Susie Cool. You know, I see other live people, people in lives doing the same thing I'm doing. They're getting up close to the computer. It's Susie KOCOL, which means Colorado. So I'm calling you Susie Cool, and you're not even Susie Cool, and you haven't even sent me an email. So Susie, thank you for hanging in there for me while I look at misread your name. But I think Susie Cool is cool. So I'm going to stick with that. But it's Susie Colorado. Susie K.O. Colorado. Tara, welcome. So Terra Sunshine always makes me think of Earth Sunshine, because Terra, like terra firma. Chilly Sarasota. Yes, chilly for you in Sarasota. What is 72? Martha Ann. Virginia, welcome to the live. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, we're just getting started. So appreciate you guys being a part of it. 59. Yeah, that's chilly for you. Absolutely. Chicago is 37. No, thank you. I know, it's awesome seeing where everybody's joining. Thankfully, most of the states that are represented, I've been to all of them. I think there's only a couple of states left. Well, I haven't been, you won't believe this, but I've not been to Hawaii, and I've not been to Alaska, and I have not been to either of the Dakotas. Portland, Oregon. I've got someone on here from Portland. Love it. Love Southeast Portland. I hope it's still as wonderful as it was back in the 90s when I lived there. I had a love affair with that place. I lived down in Carlton and worked in Portland. I lived worked on the east side of the river. That's where the office was. Paul, I'm seeing your comments tonight. Illinois, okay. Fort Lauderdale. North Carolina, y'all. And she put the blue heart. I wonder if that's Tar Heel blue. Michigan. Yes, Michigan's another state I want to visit. Been there, but I want to go back and really spend some time. I really want to go up into, the UP, as you guys call it. Minneapolis. Milwaukee. Hey, Tom. Is that the Tom Goldman, as in my three-dimensional Tom Goldman that is in my three-dimensional world? Or is this another Tom Goldman? Tom, and I apologize because I cannot see pictures because they're very small. Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, you guys are, yeah, I've heard about what's happening to Portland. Yeah. Hey, Tom. Okay, it's Tom Goldman. Glad you joined. Henry, not a problem at all. I'm glad you're here. Absolutely. Martha Ann, you're asking me the questions. You're like, get this thing started. The best thing that happened to me today, well, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's this live that I'm doing this live. It's true. You know, it was, other than that, it was a pretty ordinary day. I love that you guys are talking to each other. This is awesome. And Lexington is beautiful, of course. Guys, thanks for sharing your location. This really helps everyone else kind of have an experience as well, since I'm the only one that can run my trap. So tonight, because I said that it's this, that, and the other, and I can really interact with you guys, I wanted to talk to you about how things can motivate us, like especially as children. And I have a story. And I know you guys like when I tell the stories. You have said you like to hear my stories. The story I want to share is first grade story. I'm taking you all the way back to 1970, 71. And I was in first grade and we were learning, we had spelling tests, I think weekly spelling tests. And I would get I would miss it. Let's just say I can't remember, but let's just say there were 10 words on the test, and I would always miss two or something like that, one or two, maybe three. And yes, story time, exactly. So my mom was frustrated. So I'm going to give you, so there's my mom's frustration. There's the situation in first grade, me and the spelling. And really what she said is I don't think my mom ever used the word lazy with me. My dad did, but my mom didn't. She probably told me I wasn't trying. But here's what happened. My grandmother, when I was 2 years old or so, my grandma was a collector of green stamps. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about green stamps, but they were something, trading stamps. They gave them away like at a grocery store when you bought for so many dollars spent or how many dimes you spent or whatever. They gave you these trading stamps, and you could lick these stamps or wet these stamps and put them into a book. And once you filled these books, you could take them to the stamp store. It was a stamp store where you could redeem the books. These books you licked all these stamps into, and you could redeem these nasty books for merchandise. So things like, for instance, this book would be worth 2 books. You could buy a book for 2 books. So 2 books of stamps. So you would redeem those. So my grandma would do that. She loved green stamps. And I think green stamps were a really big thing back in the day. And there were greenbacks. I think the Piggly Wiggly gave greenback stamps, and green stamps were at the Winn-Dixie because I'm from the South, as you guys all know. I'm glad you guys remember them and you remember the books. Yes, you can still find, believe it or not, occasionally at antique malls, because I'm always out antiquing. Occasionally you can find those old books with the stamps still in them where somebody, the green stamps thing went away completely and the stores closed. And so they never were able to redeem their books. So here's those sad books that never were redeemed. Long story. I got sidetracked. My grandma redeemed stamps and bought me a plush toy, as we call them now. We called them stuffed animals back then. Maybe people still call them stuffed animals. She bought me this little animal called a Nighty Night Bear. And I did a video about this it's in my video history. But if you've heard the story again, I'm just going to tell it again tonight because it's an interesting story. Part of my childhood is significant. The Nighty Night Bear was significant to me as a child. I absolutely loved the thing. I took it everywhere with me, and I had it for, as a child between ages 2 and 6. That's a long time. It's a lot of years for a kid. It's a lot of years to haul around a bear, but I did. And I took it at age 6. My mom was working somewhere. I don't know. I think she was working retail, and she would take us to our babysitter's house, and sometimes. And the babysitter, I took the bear with me one day and just playing with it. I never took it, but I just took it that day. Towards the end of the day, my mom comes to pick us up. I realize I don't have the bear, and I go to get it, and it's not in their house. And then I remember I took it outside, and the last time I saw it, it was laying in a little field. But when I found it, someone else had found it, and they had thrown the bear into the ditch, the dirty, muddy ditch, and squished it down into the muddy water. So it was all messy and dirty. Hey, little bee, welcome. I'm glad you're here. You told me you would be. So the bear was all squishy and dirty and full of mud and dirt. I pulled it out of there, 6 years old. Now, keep in mind, when you're a kid, you love those things like they're real. And I was not happy. I'm sure I wasn't, I don't remember being hysterical, but chances are I was. Anyway, my mom, because the thing was so sodden and dirty and filthy, she told me she didn't think she could clean it. So she told me to put it in the trash. Okay, I'm almost 60, and I just had to roll my eyes back because I thought about having to throw that bear in the trash. So I went over I reluctantly opened took the galvanized lid off the trash can, just like Oscar the Grouch, and I put the bear on top of the garbage and closed the lid. Went back to the car. My mom's talking to the babysitter, blah, 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 blah. Somehow I get out of the car again and go back. By the time I got back, the other kids had seen me and knew that I was upset about it. They had taken an old bottle of Tidy Bowl, that old blue stuff that was in the back of a toilet that you put in the tank. They poured it all over the bear. That's how kids are. Kids just do stuff like that. So the bear now was not only mud sodden, but now it was covered in blue Tidy Bowl chemical. So it was beyond saving. There was no hope. Because I think what my mom said is, go back and get it. I'll try to wash it. Well, when I went back, it was ruined. Okay. Now, there's the setting. We got in the car. We drove away. That was 1970. We moved away to Cuba. We moved back to South Carolina. We moved everywhere. But over the years, I always thought about the Nighty Night Bear. I always did in the back of my mind. I can remember being probably before the stuffed animal thing stopped, imagining a big landfill and the bear was in the landfill and covered in dirt and trash. And I would think about that on and off for quite some few years about this bear that was missing from my childhood because it was that significant. So you've got that setting. So we drove away. The bear's gone. I'm in first grade. I'm not doing well in the spelling tests. I'm just not making it. My mom decides to use the bear situation as leverage. Now, she could not replace the Nighty Night Bear, but I loved Winnie the Pooh. So she said, I will take you to Sears and buy you whichever bear you want in there. That's because Winnie the Pooh was licensed to Sears at the time. I'll buy you any bear in the store if you get 100% on every spelling test for the rest of the first grade. I did it. 100% for the rest of the first grade. We went into Sears. I went directly to the display Winnie the Pooh, which was at least 4 feet tall. It was huge. And I said, I want this one. Because she said any bear in there I could have. And I remember the sales lady laughing and saying that was a display, I can have it. So I had to go over to a table of these and choose the one I wanted, which was the largest one, which still squeaks, still has a squeaker in it. Yeah, it still squeaks. But this is the bear that I got that day with my mom. You see, it's like the Velveteen Rabbit. All the fuzz has been loved off of it. You know, it's seen a lot of years. But this is a 1970s Winnie the Pooh. But I earned it. And that lesson that my mom taught me followed me throughout the rest of my life because I realized that I could use things to reward myself and I could actually, it just changed my motivation somehow. And I don't know if any of you, anyone else uses that, but it does work. And it's certainly magical for kids to set a goal for something. The only thing you've got to do is be careful that you don't say things like you can have whatever bear you want, because that's what my mom said. It wasn't devastating that I couldn't have the 4-foot bear. I understood. But if you set realistic expectations and you follow through, that you don't end up at the end of it telling the child, yeah, whatever. You've got to do it. If the kid holds up their end of the bargain, you got to do it. So yes, I've carried this bear with me all these years. So I'm going to fast forward the story. So the Nighty Night Bear story. This bear's in my memory. I think about it. My sister knows all about the Nighty Night Bear, the whole thing. So every Christmas, when my sister lived in Louisiana, we would drive down and spend Christmas with her and her family. Just about every Christmas, because some Christmases I had my kids here and stuff like that, but we would go down there for Christmas. Christmas of 2016, we're opening presents, and my sister, we're handing gifts off to each other, and we open them. Well, I opened my gift, and what did I pull out of the box? This is the Knickerbocker Nighty Night Bear. This is it. This is the one that she actually found on eBay. I had not seen this thing since the day that it was like this in the trash can with Tidy Bowl poured over this part of it and all down this little shirt. It was a mess, but here it is. It was one of those moments like you see those videos on YouTube where people do that. It is breathtaking. The minute I saw this hat thing in the top of the box, I knew what it was. And I just could not breathe because it's just a small thing. But wow, it was such a memory. And what was even more special about it is that my sister even remembered the story and knew how much it meant enough the minute she saw this thing. And I think she paid a good bit for it, but she did do that, which was super, super, super special. So this and the Winnie the Pooh are in the guest bedroom upstairs. They have a prominent place. It's the room that my sister and her husband sleep in when they're here. So they get to enjoy looking at the two of those bears together because they're two significant parts of my story. Thank you, Mary Dawn. Yes, now I'm looking at comments, guys. She is. She's a sweetheart. My sister and I are so close together that we almost grew up together. You called yours Big Teddy. I guess you're talking about your bears because you guys have probably been chatting with each other. Yeah, we are very close. Thank you, Alabama. GNC Chapel. Garrett, that's all right. You missed the first story, Garrett, but it's fine. It'll be archived on YouTube for your enjoyment. Abby, I'm so glad you joined. Part of the core crew. I was talking about bears, and we won't tell anyone else about it. So, so Alan said, "Tell us about Cuba." I can definitely do that. Um, yes. So my parents, we lived in Norfolk, Virginia. My dad was a career Navy, so we lived in Norfolk, and I went to first grade there. And then yes, and by the way, Garrett or whoever was asking about the story, um, YouTube it because it's right out of the gate. I tell the story about these bears, and it's a fun story. I think that's why I chose to share it tonight. You guys are making me dig for stories. That's for sure. I am digging for stories. Um, so Cuba. So first grade in Norfolk, Virginia. Then my dad got orders, and he had three choices. We were either going to live in northern Alaska, Point Barrow or somewhere like that. I don't know where it was. It was some crazy place, and Midway Island out in the middle of the Pacific, or Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Those were his choices. And so my parents, I remember them talking about it. And as a kid, you don't know what any of that means. But I remember my mom being concerned about going to Alaska because of the midnight sun, the time when it's dark for several months and whatever it is up there. And she was not having it. And that's the one thing as a kid I do remember my mom talking about is not living there, and being afraid of the sun never comes out. You know what I mean? As a kid, you're terrified because you don't know what that is. But I do remember that. And looking at it now, I've looked at Midway on maps, and Midway is in the middle of nowhere. It's a tiny dot in the middle of the Pacific. So I'm so glad they didn't do that. So we went to Cuba. That's what they chose, and we flew. My dad went down there first and got housing, secured housing, and then we came down later with me, my mom, and my sister. All flew down there together on an airliner that was I think it was a military aircraft. I think that we flew down there on. But my dad, what's interesting is that we landed, the plane has all these other dependents on it because it was a dependent flight. So, and dependents are people who are not the military. They're typically the wife or the husband of the military member and their children. We're called dependents if you're not familiar with that kind of terminology. Your son-in-law works in Cuba now. Okay, cool. Chipper, that's awesome. So we flew down there, but my dad worked for the admiral of the base. He was part of his staff, I think, somehow. So because of that, everyone else had to get on the airport it's a bay. And so there's the big bay, and the base is on two sides of the bay, the leeward side and the main side. The airport's on the leeward side, but everything else is on the main side. So to get between the two, you have to get on a ferry and go across. Everyone else had to get on a ferry. But because of my dad being connected to the admiral, we had our own special little boat that picked us up as a family. I've thought about that so many times, how we got on that boat. Everybody else went this direction. We got our own special boat, and we were taken across by ourselves, just me, my mom, and my sister, and whoever was on the boat. I think my dad met us there. But I think about it now, I would have experienced that very differently now than the way I experienced it then, because it was just so cool. But I didn't even know how cool it was, when we got down there. But yeah, that's how we arrived. My dad was also, in addition to being on the admiral staff, my dad was he was the game warden for the base. He actually did that too. And because of that, my dad was an avid fisherman. So a lot of sea fishing. My dad had his own boat built, and we went out. I would go fishing out there with my dad in the bay. Just so many incredible, Caribbean experiences that, I grew up doing those things. I grew up around the ocean, and I've just realized as I got older that a lot of people don't do that. It was just the things I got to see as a kid were very unique and different because of the access that my dad had to certain things, and being around the ocean and warm. I remember going gigging with him for warm water lobster that were down there, and my dad would bring all those. They would bring home like a pot full or bucket full of warm water lobster home, and that's what they would cook for dinner. We were having lobster for dinner, with lemon butter on it and all that my mom made. It's just these unbelievable experiences. I remember the first time I had lobster, and it was like an out-of-body experience practically. We were there for 3 years. Yes, thank you guys for tapping the screen too. Tapping the screen and getting the likes up on these really helps push the lives out so that more people see it, and that's helpful in building an audience. So I appreciate it if you do that. So yeah, we were there from 1971. We were there 71, 72. We left. We came back in 74. Moved back to the States. So I went to 5th grade in Columbia, South Carolina, and then my parents moved outside the city, a little further out. My dad was at the university there, and that was his. That was not his final station he was at, but he was at the University of South Carolina for their ROTC, NROTC program, Navy ROTC. You've never had lobster at all, Little B, ever? You need to try lobster if you haven't had it. And you need to make sure that when you go to get lobster it's expensive, but you go where someone knows how to cook it. So it's not cooked wrong. So you can enjoy it because it is really, really good. You are absolutely cold water lobster. Yeah, I think they're called langosta or something like that. They're warm water. They're in the Caribbean. So I just remember you had to go at night to get it. Oh no, Mary Therese, not good. It is sweet. Absolutely, it is. Yeah, some people aren't. Yeah, it does sound good. I did. I fed the iguanas. Marcia, did you live there or visited? Hey, Diane, welcome. Thank you very much, Groovy. Daddy thanks you, Groovy. Everyone look at Groovy's comment. Groovy is translating for us. Thank you. Thank you. It is. And it would make sense because we were where? Cuba. Little B, we've told the story of my dad. Yes, my dad was I've told you guys, if you want to know what my dad was like, go rent the movie, go to Netflix or go out to Amazon Prime and get The Great Santini and watch that movie and know that Artful Roger, watched that movie in high school and thought it was a happy ending. So you watch it and I'll tell you, I related so much to that kid, the son in that story, that I couldn't stand it. When I saw that, it was like my life story on a film and I couldn't believe it. And you watch the movie and when I tell you it was a happy ending, that's like saying that Beaches was a comedy. You watch it and see. You won't believe it. Groovy, are you laughing because of what I just said about the movie having a happy ending? Because I hope you are. Yes, my dad was something. And I think in addition, it's The Great Santini is the movie I'm talking about. It's like a 40-year-old movie, but it's really sums up how my dad was when I was a kid and a teenager. Oh, you're laughing at Langosta. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think in addition to what my dad, thank you, Paul. In addition to what my dad's strictness, he also had that thing where there's people. What's a disorder called? And Groovy, this is your chance. What is that disorder called where people can't hear other people eating? It irritates them when they hear swallowing or chewing. It's a thing. It's been named. My dad had that. That's what I'm getting at. And so eating with my dad was very difficult. The movie was a frightening dad. That's right, Cargo. It absolutely was. Oh, so Little B, you have that too. Misophonia. So that means something about sound. Phonia. Misophonia. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The only problem, if we're talking about issues I have with people eating, I don't like people who don't close their mouth when they chew. That I can't deal with. Steve and I like to have dinner parties, and that's a sure way to not be on the list. That's a sure way to be taken off the invite list for the next one, because if you don't close your mouth when you eat, it's just too much. I can't. The chewing and clinking, I don't mind so much if people are, most of the time there's talking, but when you're, and you're just chewing food and, oh my goodness, close your mouth. And the other thing, this is another thing, I'm just going to talk about it because maybe you guys have this too. People who eat too fast. If you're invited to dinner at someone's home, or you go out to dinner with people, be aware. If you're starving, eat a little something before you go so you don't wolf your food down really fast. You want to eat slowly. You want to have conversation. You want to lay down your silverware between bites. You want to cut, put it in your mouth, and learn how to hold your silverware and lay it down, chew, talk, converse with your mouth not full of food, then go back to eating. Pace yourself along with everyone else. I think people who wolf down their food at a dinner party and you're sitting there with an empty plate and everyone else barely started, beware. Beware. You guys are like, I'm never coming to your house for dinner. He's going to watch everything I do. I really don't. Follow the table is exactly what you need to do. You absolutely pace yourself with everyone else. My mother would love you. You know, we've talked about how much moms always loved me. The moms loved me to date their daughters. That is for sure. I was a parent's dream come true. Sarah Steven. Sorry, Sarah, I said your name. And your last name. Now they know who you are. I'm going to get it tomorrow. Alan, your questions. Can I get a rule book? Groovy, you're killing me. Movies are tough. You know, we went to the beach with some friends recently. You were born in 1945. Oh, wow. Wow. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. You'll be at the next dinner. Yeah, exactly. Chewing with your mouth closed and pacing yourself with the rest of the table. In high school, yes, I did. I think I dated a lot of people in high school. And I should say I dated girls in high school and in college. I did not date any men. That came later. That came later. You're still the youngest. No, Groovy is the youngest, guys. I'm pretty sure. She's got us beat. The best manners the crew will have, I'm sure. I seriously, don't be afraid. Yeah, even a starched napkin is the finest thing around. Yeah, I don't starch the napkins, but I do iron them all. Yes. Groovy. Groovy. Oh my gosh, Groovy. Wow. You got to be laughing. Look at me. I am like, why? Why have I not known that? My apologies. Oh. Groovy. Groovy, groovy, groovy. Groovy's under 30. You never said. I don't know where I got in my head, though. I don't know how I got you misgendered. I don't know how that happened. I need to go and find you guys when I'm not on a live and click on your thumbnails and look at your faces. I mean, but some of you have things like my other friend on here, Nerds and Bones. She's a package of Nerds candy and some bones. So, or he, I don't know. Garrett's 54. So you guys are checking in now on your ages. So far, Jackie. Little B's got you beat. Henry. Diane is a child. Melissa's a child. Kay May, 65. Susie. Look at you guys. That's awesome. You know what? They said TikTok was for kids. Bobby, child. Crystal, child. Yeah, old enough to know better than to be on this live, I guess. Are you talking about for a dinner table? Absolutely. You've got to have flowers on the table for sure. And you guys are all young at heart. Of course you are. Yep. June has an old soul. You are, Sarah. You're absolutely ageless. No one would ever know. I think that that does keep us young. However, I was listening to, I had Alexa playing Paul Young at dinner tonight. Come Back and Stay, I think, is one of his songs. And so I had listened to that. And then I had her, Alexa, play all of Paul Young's music. And so I really had an 80s evening at dinner. It's pretty awesome. Candles are a must. Yes. Yes. Boxwood. Bring it in from the garden. I bring in bits and pieces of the garden in the summer. Yeah. 20-ish. Yeah. Every time you go away, you take a part of me. Or what is that? Yeah. Come Back and Stay was his song. Why don't you come back? Please hurry. Come back and stay for good this time. I haven't heard that song in forever, and I don't know what I was thinking about. I think I was singing it to the dog, part of it this afternoon at lunch, and then I started saying, I haven't heard that song in forever, so I played it. I just loved it. I just absolutely enjoyed it. Yes. Okay. Diane, I'm reading your comment. It's unfortunate on the YouTube archive that these comments do not get archived. They're not seen. It's just me talking and answering this. So I try to read your comments so that when I go back and watch the archive to critique myself, I know what we're talking about. Yes, exactly. That's it. I'm not collecting dinnerware in China. I have my mom's. I have a set of Mikasa. I think hers is Mikasa, and I just bought a set of Noritake that I adore. I love it, and that's in it's a video on in my history. Yeah, Rick Springfield's music is awesome for sure. Yeah, I don't read all your comments, thankfully. You may not want me to read it. Yes, who doesn't remember Depeche Mode? Maybe Groovy doesn't. Groovy, did you hang? Are you still here, Groovy, or did you run away because I was just misgendering you? I hope Groovy's still here. Oh, good. Whew. I wiped the sweat from my brow. That music, yeah, those are the Simon and Garfunkel. That's awesome stuff. Yeah, Neil Diamond. My shower time music. There's an Alexa in the primary bathroom, as we call them now, and I had some old '70s rock playing, and they played an unknown song, a song I'd not heard by Neil Diamond before, and now I can't remember the name of it. It was just, I just stopped what I was doing, turned the water off in the shower, had to listen to Neil Diamond sing because his voice is absolutely unbelievable, so good. Groovy on a Sunday afternoon. I don't think Groovy was with me on my Sunday afternoon. Great, Groovy. I'm glad. Groovy, I'm going to have to go out to your TikTok page and see if you have any videos posted because I'm going to have to see a picture of you. I've got to get that image of you out of my head so I can stop misgendering you. I think it's because I have 3 daughters and you were calling me dad. And so and I have a son too, but I have 3 daughters. So he's outnumbered. So I think that's what was making me do that. And because my girls call me that. So whenever you said it, I'm like, that's immediately what I think that's how you got stuck in my brain like that. So another little story I want to share with you guys is about this. I brought these things in. This is a bag of marbles. ASMR. It's a bag of marbles. This bag of marbles, my mom, when she was a child growing up in the Mill Village, and I posted a picture of the house she was born in. That's where she grew up. Literally born in the house, grew up in that house all the way till she got married and left the house. So that was my mom's home place. And we went there. We went to where my mom ran around as a child. And occasionally we would find marbles in the yard. because back in my mom was born in 1938, so she would have been, her childhood was really the 40s, and kids played marbles. So my mom knew all about the rules of marbles, and they had names. And when we were kids, because my mom had an incredible, very special childhood she loved to share the stories of childhood. And she loved marbles. And for some reason, occasionally on Easter, we would get a bag of marbles would be in an Easter basket because the Easter Bunny would come to our house. The Easter Bunny, yes. And would fill in, we put a basket out on the sofa the night before. And when we get up in the morning, it would have stuff in it. And usually sometimes there would be marbles in it because of my mom's connection. This bag of marbles, I found probably in the last couple of years. I was some stuff after the divorce and the kids were little. When we cleaned out the house, after the wife took the kids' stuff, some of the stuff was left behind in boxes that maybe no one opened. Anyway, the box had been following me around for almost 15 to 20 years. And I opened it. And in the box was this bag of marbles. And these were his, evidently, that my mom had bought for him too in an Easter basket when he was a little kid. So, and they're still tied up the way whoever tied them. They have not been opened. So these are in my office. I keep these on my desk as a reminder. Also in that box, I found this, which is a little, is this Daffy Duck, I think, or something. I don't know who this is, but is it Daffy Duck? It doesn't matter. Anywho, this is a Beanie Baby. And again, back in the 90s when my kids were all little, hey, Vivi, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, Easter basket days were fun. Yes, they were, Groovy. And thanks for being here, Groovy. So, it's Daffy Duck. Okay, did I say that wrong? I don't know what I said. This is Daffy. So this evidently was a Beanie Baby my mom got for my son too, because it was in the box with the marbles. So I had this and a bunch of little train things that I've kept. But this and this are in my office every day. They're just sitting there. I can see them every day I come in. The Daffy Duck is sitting on top of the marbles. There was another one of these things in there, and it was Tweety Bird, Beanie Baby Tweety Bird. So in 2021, those 2 years, we have a guest suite here at the house, and it did not have, the bathroom had not yet been put into that space. It was plumbed, it was stubbed out for a bathroom. And so Steve and I built a wall, and we put in the counter and the sink and all that. And we hired contractors to build out the wet room, which is the toilet shower area. But we built a wall in there, and I'm gonna do a live from that guest suite at some point, so you guys can kind of see what that looks like. This is a really cool space. The carriage house on this house is attached to the house by the roof, but it's a 2-car garage, and it has a full apartment space, a guest suite, that goes beside the garage and over the top. So it's a carriage house apartment. It's just in its separate entrance on the front porch. So when you come up on the front porch, there's the main house door. And if you take a hard right, you go directly into the guest suite, which is like its own little space. It's just really awesome space. But it, like I said, didn't have a bathroom. So we built the wall that has the mirror on it and the coffee bar and all that stuff. When we built it, before we closed it up, I framed it, and then we put the drywall up on one side. But before I put the drywall up on the side that we were closing it, we put the Beanie Baby inside there. The Tweety Bird is sitting in, I made a ledge, and so it's sitting in there. And we put a Christmas tree, a little Christmas tree on a ledge in there too. So there's a Christmas tree and a Tweety Bird in there. And we took a Sharpie and we wrote our story on the wall, on the inside of the wall. So we wrote the year it was, we wrote about the COVID pandemic, that we were building this during COVID, who we are, how old we were, the year, all this information was listed in there. And we put those two things in, and then I drywalled that side, mudded it, and wallpapered it. So for all of the time that this house is here, whoever buys this after us, the Tweety Bird in our note will be hidden. And so our thing is that someday when someone remodels it, hopefully decides that they don't like that wall anymore, they open it and there's like a little time capsule, of course. Yes, Joan, a time capsule inside. But this was the other part of this Beanie Baby story. And I did that because I wanted to put the Tweety Bird. I imagined that even this Daffy Duck thing, this has really a lot of sentimental meaning for me because of my son. But the Tweety Bird, I was afraid that if it disappeared, it'd go to Goodwill and it'd be lost and no one would know the story. So I wrote its story and put it into a time capsule. So it's there for, I don't know how long it'll be there. Maybe there for years and years and years. Who knows? But at least I protected it. But another thing about Beanie Babies, my mom passed away in 2001, cancer. And then in 2006, you know, I'd been back to California all over the place and blah, 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 blah. It was 2006. It had been 5 years since my mom passed. And I had the kids at my house at Christmas here in Atlanta. And my sister and my brother-in-law came with their two boys. All our kids were still young. My sister gives all the kids gifts. This is how my sister is. All of them, each one, all four of my kids were here. Each child opened up their gift, and in there was a Beanie Baby. And on it, the little Beanie Babies had a card on them, a tag, and my mom had written their names on it with a note. My sister found them in their house when they were cleaning the house out, and she had kept them all that time, and then gave them to each child at Christmas. It was just such a, I mean, we're all blubbering. I mean, because my mom was gone. And it was like she was there, it was like she was there. It was her writing, and it was to them. So it was really super special. So Beanie Babies, although I don't collect, are very special to me. You put a time capsule in your house too, a mess. Okay, cool. Wait, my mom was born in 1938 in Lancaster, South Carolina. Thank you, Diane. Yes, my mom was special. She really was. Another thing that I'll tell you, since I'm on the brink of tears, I might as well tell this too. My mom went into remission, was in chemo, and then went into remission for several months, and it looked really good. But when the cancer returned, it came back with a vengeance. And it was when she did the scan, I told you this in a live before. If you see the scans, my sister still has the scans. I don't know why we have them, but she does. But when you look at my mom's pelvic area in the scan, it looks like a Christmas tree, because it's just all white, all the little dots, because that's all the cancer. It's clear. You can see through it. It's like white lights. So she really came back on her hard. But my mom was not ready. She was 63. She was not ready. And so she kept doing stuff. She kept making plans. After she died, in the refrigerator, out in the garage where she did stuff, there was an entire bowl of, if you're from the South, you'll know what these are, scuppernongs, which are like grapes or wild grapes. And muscadines are the ones that grow out. The muscadines are the wild ones. Scuppernongs actually are like a grape-like plant. She had this in her yard, and she had a giant bowl. She was planning to make jelly, and she died. It was the hardest thing to pour those berries out. It was the hardest thing. It's those little things you don't think about when people go. You don't think about that. Some people just can do it, I guess, but it just was, my sister and I could not dump those berries. And that story, I told my mom. I went to see my mom a week or so, I think the weekend before she died. She died on a Sunday, early on a Monday morning. And the weekend before, I was visiting her, and by then she was jaundiced, and her eyes were yellow. Her whites of her eyes were yellow, and she was no longer looking in mirrors. She would not look in a mirror. She did not want to admit that she was sick. She was not admitting it, so she wouldn't even look. I couldn't even get her to look in a hand mirror at all. And I sat there with her on the couch, on the sofa, and she had her feet on me. She was at the other end of the sofa, and I just rubbed her feet, for a long time, and thought about it. And I wanted to say so badly to her, I wanted to say, Mom, when you're on the other side, if there's any way you could show me that you're there. But I could not bring myself to say it. I could not say it, because I felt like if I said that to her, I was telling her that she was dying, and I was admitting it to her, and she didn't want to admit it. She wanted to be alive. She did not want to go. And I went home, and I told her, I did tell her, Mom, I don't want to hear you rasping. I don't want to hear those rattly sounds. I just don't want to remember you like that. So I don't want that. And I was very clear about it with her. And that Wednesday before she passed, my sister was there, and at some point she got my mom out of bed, and my mom was able to sit up on the side of the bed, and my mom looked around, kind of got clear for a minute, and said, how did I get in this condition? She was just bewildered that she was at that state, and Fast forward to to late Sunday. I was in bed in Charlotte, which is 2 hours away from where she was, and the phone, my mobile phone rang, and it was my stepdad, and he said, "Your mom." And I was in bed, and he said, your mom's almost gone. You need to come home. Your mom's about to pass away or gonna die. I shouldn't say that word here on TikTok, but she's gonna pass." And so I got out of bed immediately. I showered. I went downstairs. I made coffee before I left. And these are all things in order. You know how I am. I'm serendipity and following things through, letting things be as they are. When I poured my first cup of coffee, the mug fell out of my hand and broke on the kitchen counter, and hot coffee went all over the floor, all over what I was wearing. So I had to shower it all up again. I had to change my clothes. It delayed me by a bit, and all that happened. But the 2 hour drive, I got within 5 minutes of my mom's house, and my phone rang, and it was my sister. And all the way there, I'd been listening to Eva Cassidy. And I had found music was a way for me to touch with things, and maybe it works for other people too. Music is magical. But then I was in the middle of my divorce. I was in the middle of all that stuff with my kids and my ex-wife, and the whole coming out stuff was happening. There's so much going on. And my mom dying in the middle of that, music had become a way for me it was like a salve for my brain, for my heart. And I found music. It just found me. And Eva Cassidy found me somehow. And I was listening to that, and there's a song on one of her CDs, back then, her CDs, and it was about crossing over Jordan. That's the song that was playing. It was about passing away. It was about, it's just a trip over Jordan, and I'll see my mother, and I'll see my father, and that's a song that was playing. It just happened to be playing, and because it was a 6-disc CD changer in the trunk, and it just was playing that song when the phone rang. Turned the music down, and my sister said, "She's gone." That's all she said. And of course, it's just silent. I hang up the phone. I get to my mom's, and it's still dark. I pull up in their driveway. I'm by myself. I get out of the car. I take 2 steps, and I can't even stand up. I just buckled over like I was vomiting. I just buckled over, and I couldn't breathe, and I stood back up because it's dark, and I'm trying to walk, and I did it again. And when I finally got to the porch, I barely got to the door, and my stepdad opened the door, and there was the hospice nurse, and I didn't say anything to them. I couldn't speak. But when I got into where my mom was, you guys wanted the story. I'm telling you a story. But she was in her bed, and they put a towel under her chin to hold her mouth closed. And all I did was start howling like an animal. That's all I could do. And my mom's best friend was in there with me. And all I was doing was howling. It was so hard. My mom was so warm, and I was holding her hands. And it was so hard. And her friend's name was Frances, and Frances was there, and Frances hugged me, and I know Frances felt, she let me have my space. Everyone did. And I went outside in the dark with an umbrella. It was raining. It was September. And I went outside in the dark with an umbrella, and my mom, they had 2.5 acres. So I walked way down a hill from their house where I could see the window where my mom was, and the blinds were closed, but I could see the light shining on it. And I heard the hearse, the mortician people come to the front of the house, and I heard the door open, and I saw the shadows on the window, and they took her out the front of the house, put her in the car. I didn't watch any of that. I just remember it raining on me in the dark in September. And we're all going to do that. It was a little sooner than I thought. I was 37, 36, and my mom was gone. I didn't expect to share this story tonight, that's for sure. But I will tell you that whether it's in my mind or not, these 20 something years since my mom died have been filled with so many moments where I feel my mom is present. That I've talked to my sister. I said, sometimes when I'm working in the garden, the wind blows and it just feels like her. It's like, it's almost like she said something and it just blows over me like it's the wind. And my sister feels the same way. And maybe other people feel that as well, that you feel that they're in the wind, that these people that we loved are in the wind. But my mom shows up as numbers. She showed up this morning. Her house number was 404, and that number has been I live in area code 404. The number shows up whenever I'm in stressful situations. I can wake up in the morning, early morning, and be in some kind of place in my mind, and I'll wake up sometimes at 404. I have a projection clock on the ceiling that projects the time, and it's there, and I feel like she's there for me. Yes. Rosie, thank you. Guys, I'm not looking at the comments. I'm just telling the story. I apologize. I'm missing so much of what you guys are saying, but I didn't bring a tissue down here because I didn't expect I would be crying about that. But yeah, that, and we talk about the abyss of grief. That's another thing that I've mentioned before to people, and I've talked to my sister about it. The abyss of grief is very real right after someone that you're really close to like that passes away. I call it the abyss because it's like I can get near the edge of it, and you start questioning, like you start thinking, I'm never going to see my mother again, and you realize I'm never going to see my mother again, and that kind of thing. I call it the abyss. It's like a black hole, and you fall into it. And I had to learn in the beginning not to get near that. I had to stay away from. I used to fall in it all the time, and then I would get out of it. I found a way to not get near that anymore. I found other ways to think of my mom, so I don't go there about thinking I'm never going to see her again. And 20-something years passing certainly makes you, you forget people's voices and stuff like that. I can still hear my mom's laugh. I can't hear her voice as well as I used to be able to. And I don't have the dreams that I once had after she first passed, when it would be so, you would see her in a dream and she would be there and you were like, you can't be here. You're not here anymore. And, then you realize in your dream that she's not here anymore. And then you're just wake up and you're just blubbering, in your sleep. So Paul, yes, perhaps we will. I don't know for sure. But I will say that I can live with the not knowing, and live with the memories that I have of her and the bits and pieces of her that I have, the things that she did. Like, I know that my mom touched this. My mom was with me at Sears when I got this thing. She's the one who, when it was laying on the counter with the sales lady, she's the one who paid for it, with cash, because no one used credit cards back then. No one knew what that was. Do I have family videos? I do. And my kids have those. And I went to Chipperdoodle. Yes. I know you've lost your child. I can't watch the old videos, guys. I tried watching with my daughters. We were watching some of them when they're little. And I went through that traumatic divorce when they were little. And I saw them as babies and little kids. And I couldn't look at it. So they had to turn it off. I can't watch it. Yep, Sears is gone too. Isn't that interesting? You can't watch the old videos either, Chipper? Yeah. I can't see them. It's too hard. It breaks me. It just absolutely breaks me. Vivi, I love that. I just love that, because those are the kind of things you do find, and they make you feel so good. Yeah. Guys, I apologize. Between my contact lenses, tears, I cannot see your comments. Yeah, I can't believe Kmart's gone either. Yeah. I think so too, Jim. I like to think that. That's a pleasant thought. It's a very pleasant way to think of it. Guys, if you're just joining this live, I see there's about 100 people in here, and some of you probably are not part of the crew. You don't know what we're doing. My mother passed away in 2001, so this is not something we're talking about recent. It's just something that came up in telling stories here. But if you're interested in anything to do with me or what's happening in this live, I do archive my lives under my on my YouTube channel. Artful Rodger, Rodger. And if you do go out to YouTube and you're a user of YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost anything, but it will it'll certainly boost my my channel. Chipper, you bet. Yeah, Sears and Roebuck. Yeah, my grandmother called it Sears's. Sears's. That's what she said. That was my my dad's mother. Take me to Sears's. Your mom died in 01. Lee, what month did your mom pass? Jeffrey, how do you become the crew? Well, say hello to the crew. And Little B's part of the crew. I'm looking at names of Susie's part of the crew. These are people that there have been follow me who show up for these lives. Since I've been doing lives, they've been part of it, and they've kind of all got to know each other. Chipper is one of them. So yes, follow me here on TikTok, and I do lives 2 times a week. Tuesday nights I'm here at the desk, and on Thursday nights I'm at the craft table working on a project. So I'm more doing things and painting and stuff like that, and you guys are watching that, and I'm talking a little bit. But on Tuesday nights I tend to do this. They tune in to watch me cry. So yeah, there was a few people. Yes. Yes, you're hearing from the crew. November 11th, 2002. Yep. You see it. Yep, exactly. Numbers. It's story time. Yes, it's story time with Artful Rodger. Tuesday night story time. No problem that you're late. Thank you, Yvonne. Tears are healing, Millie, that's for sure. Yes, I have one of my mom's sweaters too. I don't wear it, but I have it in my closet. It's in there. I have never taken the plastic above it. I don't think I could do it. I don't even think I could touch it and feel it. It's in the dry cleaning bag, and I don't think I could even touch it. Maybe so, Marcia. Your maternal grandmother died in 1996. Yeah. It's interesting, you know, it's interesting. When you're a kid, yeah, maybe so. When you're a kid, you don't realize you haven't had loss like that yet, and you do think things are always going to be the same. And when you get to this age where I'm at now, I'm, you know, as you know, I'm close to 60 now, almost a month away. You begin to understand life differently, and you know that everything is temporary. Even what we're experiencing tonight is temporary. This whole thing of TikTok and me doing these lives, this is but a moment. This too shall pass, and there will be a time when people won't do the lives anymore. We'll all think about it. Remember when there used to be TikTok and people did lives? You know, who would have thought that Facebook would have become what it has become, which is sort of a relic in a way, because we were all on it, you know, in 2008. And now we're not on it as much as we used to be, or it's not the same. So everything in life is a moment. And this is a moment. We don't know each other in the real world. And I mean in the 3-dimensional world. We know each other in the 2D world, but look what we're sharing. Look what we're experiencing together. And this is special. And this is part of life. And this is part of my memory and a story I'll tell down the road probably if I'm still here. Wow, Yvonne. Wow. I just, you know, wow. And then I know people my age, older than me, and their parents are still alive. Their mom or dad, you know, is playing tennis. Their mom's in her 90s. She's 94 years old. She's playing tennis at the country club. It's like, wow, you still have your mom. You know, my mom has been gone so long. I think everybody lost their mom in their 30s. She kept new crayons in an old purse. So that's how she would let you kids have crayons. She kept them in a purse. I got it. I understand. If I can, exactly, Vivi. I think that would be fun to do a meetup, Becoming Gabby. I think that would be fun to do a meetup sometime here, to meet people in person, for sure. Yeah, is it grow the group, for sure. Guys, if I've seen there's about 112, 113 people in here, that means that there's people who don't know who I am. I'm Artful Roger. Please follow me here on TikTok if you're interested. Look at my history, and these lives happen 2 times a week. This is Storytime Tuesday, and then Thursdays I'm at a craft table doing craft projects. So, and I mean, we're building a clock cabinet deal right now. The crew knows about it. So that's something else that happens on Thursday nights at the same time. Next time I get down here, if there's even a chance I'm going to cry, I'm bringing a tissue. How big is my dining room table? I don't know. I'd have to measure it. Sarah, how big is that dining table? Do you know? I'm asking Sarah because the dining table in my dining room was designed by a person on this live. And she probably doesn't remember either. The thing about that table that's unique is that it's a long table. It extends very long and it contracts fairly to a normal length, but it's a narrow table. It's not as wide as a standard dining table. So it's pretty cool. And it has leaf storage, inside the table. You can slide it inside and close it. Yes, you see that Paul subscribed, and I need to tell Paul, I have not figured out subscriptions yet. Paul subscribed to it. But I don't. The reason it's there is because TikTok sent me a notice about it. I'm showing my age here, and it talked about setting up for subscription. So I was clicking on things, and it set it up, and now I don't know how to turn it off because I had it set to a certain amount. I had to change it to the lowest setting because I can't get rid of it, and I have to come up with some benefit for a subscription, and I don't know what that is. Husker, I'm sorry to hear about that, but it's good to see your name here. Wow, Lion. That is unreal. Wow. So yeah, I don't know. Some of you on here are my good coaches. So maybe you can tell me something that I need to do for subscription because Paul says I'm totally ignored. So Paul, what I should do, because you've subscribed, I should have subscription only live where only you attend. And then it's just 100% you and me talking. That's it. I'm just going to see only your comments. There I am. I'm going to give you, it's only going to be you and me. So maybe, Paul, that's the thing. That's what it can be. So if you subscribe, then it becomes subscription only lives. And that means it's a very small group. That's, there you go. And Paul, you signed up without me even saying anything about it. So actually, since you subscribed, I owe you a subscription only live. I'm going to set that up. That's what I'm going to do. I just figured that out right this very minute. Because Paul said the other day that I did not see any of his comments in the Super Bowl live that I did. And tonight, I'm not seeing his comments. So, Paul, what do you think about having your own private live session? Yeah, I think I saw it in the description. It says you can do subscription-only lives. And I think that's one of the things you can do. Anyone else who knows better than me? Lori, you know better than me. I think Yvonne knows a lot more than I do, if that's not true. But I saw that sub-only lives are a thing. So I'm doing it. Yeah, I promise you, Paul, I'm going to look into it. Because since you subscribe without me even asking you, then I'm going to do that for you. And then I'll learn something new. And then we can tell the rest of the crew how much fun it was. Oh, I can. Okay. This sounds fun. Okay. Only subs can comment, but everyone can watch. That's what a subs only is. Okay. So people can drop in to a subscriber only, but only Paul can comment. Paul, you must be loving life right now, man, my friend. You must be like going, yes, I just hit the jackpot. And Paul, maybe you already knew. That's why you subscribed. We're going to do it for you. And then people can drop in on it. I won't do it during the normal time. I promise you that. It'll be at a different time. That way no one else suffers. I wouldn't have a live like tonight and make where no one else could comment. That would not be fun. But for other people who just drop in, who aren't subscribing, hey, I'm loving it. Thanks, Cookie, for sharing that and letting me know. Yes. So Paul is my only subscriber. Look at you, Paul. You have just You've just, there you go. And you even get that thing next to your name. You get sub. You learn something new every day. I just learned something new. So this is the high point of my day today, actually, that I learned something. Paul is number one. He is. I think Paul likes that a lot. Paul, I think you really like it, don't you? You like that you're special. Sub. I don't even. Tom Dutton, don't do it. My camera decides when it wants to follow me. And now it wasn't, and now it's doing it. I don't know. So look, now you can see the microphone. That, and listen to my creaky chair. Yes, anywho, I am so excited about doing a subscriber only live. I can't wait to set it up. You're drinking wine. There should be a star. Are you talking to me? The bottom left-hand corner? That green screen behind the wallpaper. Guys, I can't. You know me. I'm not. My computer had to be restarted right before this subwave. What does that mean? 5 subs? What? You guys are subscribing? I say one thing about a subscriber only. I guess no one's going to be muted. Poor Paul. He was going to be the only one. I see what you've done. You set a goal, so there's 2. Paul has competition. So Lori, yeah, I think Lori set that up. Guys, all this emoji stuff is just making me cray. But it's good. Have fun. So somebody said a story. I thought of something. Oh, I want to tell you guys another story, and this is a more positive story. Not that my mom passing is not positive. Trust me. We're all going to do it. And my mom had a nice passing. She really did. She absolutely did. So the story I want to tell you is when we left Cuba. It's when we flew out of there. And I think I wrote some. Let me show you something. We're talking about what I write. Okay. This right here is just one book. This old notebook. You see how full it is of stuff? That's all this is a book of cheese. The French call it fromage. And the reason I say it's a book of cheese is because that's just one of many notebooks of writings and stuff that I've done. I've shared on TikTok with some video pieces a couple of poems that I wrote that I had to put it through a cheese grater to get the cheese off of it so I could at least find some words that sounded okay. And I've shared a couple of them, maybe 2 or 3. Most of what's in that book is drivel, which is another word for nonsense for the most part. And there's very little in there that's very good. But this little story I'm going to tell you, it's somewhere in one of my journals because I've thought about this for so long. We got on the plane to leave Cuba in 1974. And it was the best 3 years of my parents' marriage. I have some of the best childhood memories that I don't think any kid could possibly have from that little place there in Guantanamo Bay, living on that naval base. So many wonderful things that I did and experienced. But I remember getting on the plane. It was a commercial airliner that we flew out on. And I was in the window seat because I was 9 years old. And I can remember the plane taking off from the island, and we're up over the ocean. And I could see the island. I watched as soon as the plane left the ground, and as it's pulling away from the ground and the ground's getting smaller and smaller. I watched, my little 9-year-old eyes watched till that island was a tiny little green itty bitty dot in the middle of the ocean, and then it just disappeared into the ocean. I have never forgotten that because it was such I'll never probably go there again. I'll never be able to go to that place again. But it was such a wonderful experience in my childhood, and I still can remember that tiny green dot, as the plane flew away back to the States, and we began our life. And that was the beginning of my parents' marriage going into the skids after that. So it was not a fun time from that point on. But yes, I loved it. NJ, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you love my stories, my little stories. And like I said, I just showed you my book of cheese. I like to write down my stories too. And I am working hard to clean up my cheesy stuff, to take all the string cheese off and leave only the delicious, French cheeses and stuff like that are really good. The fromage. Take off the cheese, leave the fromage. I know you're right about that. The closest I got to it, Sarah, was going. I went on I won't do it again. I'm not a cruise ship person, but I did a cruise to the Caribbean, and we went to Haiti, just across a little ways over. Yeah, so it was awesome. But wow, I'm telling you guys are subscribing to this. You're subscribing, so I'm gonna have to do a subscription only live. Hey, so somebody, one of my coach people, it's on here. Reach out to me, if you will, if you feel inclined, and send me an email about this, because I think I need to talk to somebody about what to do with my sub lives to make sure that I do it right, and then I'm providing value in a subscriber only live, because I understand it sounds like anyone can join a live. It's just everyone else is muted, and only my subscribers can actually chat, which is really pretty awesome. But I want to make sure that I do subjects that are interesting and not boring. Becoming Gabby, thank you so much. I'm glad you joined. What time is it? Yeah, 8:20. Yeah. Glad you came. Gabby, I'll see you next time, hopefully Thursday. I got nothing to do. I'll be here. So Henry, you're a cruiser. Yeah, I know. I met cruisers on the cruise ship. It just wasn't my deal. Yeah. Oh, so you want something to be read. Okay. Perhaps. You mean from my own stuff? Or you want me to read you some real writing? And I'm talking to you, S. Stephen. Okay. Yes, I will. Yes, Groovy. Thanks for saying bye to Gabby. The thing is that most of the stuff I've written, I'm gonna dig. I've been looking at it. I've been looking at it when I have time, trying to find stuff that I think is good. There's one laying right here. This one is written in 1996. This one right here. This I've got laying here. I'm thinking about it. It's just I'm afraid of it. I don't know why I'm afraid to read it, because it just sounds goony and anyway. Jackie, I don't know why I'm been accused of wearing my feelings on my sleeves my entire life. Yeah, and that's how I do it. Cruises, I don't know. I think that I didn't do it right when I went. When you go on a cruise, you've got to take your suit, you got to go to the dinners, you've got to really participate. And I went thinking I was going to be able to lay by a pool the entire time, which made it feel like I was on a floating hotel or a casino. So it just didn't translate. So I just didn't do it right. But someday, who knows? I might go again. Who knows? So Vivi doesn't like cruises either. Yeah, I decided I've been on two. I went on a celebratory cruise with Steve's family once in 2006 to Bermuda from New York. And then the last one I went was down to the Caribbean. But one of the things I didn't like either was the shore excursions, because you pull up and there's 5,000 people on the ship you're on. And then another one pulls up next to you and they have 5,000 people. And then 10,000 people get off the ship all at the same time and go into a place like Cozumel or something. And it just didn't feel... I don't know. It didn't feel special. But like I said, I didn't go on the right kind of cruise. I'm sure I didn't. And Henry, nothing against cruises. Trust me. People love them. Yeah, I've got some friends that are going on a river cruise to, I forget what city they're going to. Prague or something like that. So they're doing that. Yeah, pretty soon. Yeah. Yeah. I'm reading your comments. You went in 2006. Yeah, I went in, I think it was July of 2006. Celebrity, I think, is what we went on. It was a small one. Yes, I've got friends that are going to the Mediterranean. Yep, they're doing that. We haven't done it. The smaller, I found that the smaller one was better. We wanted a big one the second time, but the first one was small, and we had a really, really good time. We got to know the crew really well. They especially knew us at the bar. They knew what drinks we liked. And then the people at the pool know who you are, and they know what you want to drink, and they already bring your drinks to you. You don't even have to ask. They're already there with a tray with a drink on it. The bar tab was the biggest tab we had of the whole cruise. It's insane. So Lori, you're a subscriber, and Paul's a subscriber. So there's a third subscriber. It looks like. Am I reading that right? So somebody else on there is gonna be unmuted. The rest of you will have tape over your mouths. Garrett, no, Lori, Paul, Lori, and Paul. They're the only two I see. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, Mary. Okay, got it. Doshia. That's really awesome. My grandmother's name, the artistic creative grandmother's name was Lily May. Her name was Lily May. Her husband's name was Claude. Claude, if you're from the South. And Claude is a clod of dirt. But if you're from the North, like Steve is, you say Claude. And I'm like, my grandpa's name was Claude. It was not Claude. And my other grandmother's name was Mildred. And my dad's name was Golden. And everyone called him Goldie. Exactly, clawed, like a cat clawed my sofa. If my grandpa had nails, he would have clawed my sofa. So it would have been clawed my sofa. Yes. Yeah, Mildred was a cook. And the other thing, somebody else asked me about my grandmother, my dad's mom, because my mother's mother was so creative and was the green thumb person. But my dad's mother was not a green thumb person. She cooked, but she had a woman that baked cakes for her every single week. So this lady who baked cakes at her house would bake my grandma. Bought the cake, of course, but my grandma did not bake the cake. There was always a cake, one cake a week was at her house, and they did not eat the whole cake on a Sunday. The cake came on Sunday or Saturday night, and so the cake was there for Sunday after church. They ate some of the cake, but the cake would last pretty much the week. I remember going to her house, and by the end of the week, there'd be like one or maybe one piece of cake left. That's how people ate desserts. They didn't sit down with a bag of potato chips and mow it down like we do today, or look, it's a cake, it's a serving size. Cake was special, and so she bought the cake. The other thing interesting about my grandmother was that all of her clothes were made. She had a seamstress who made her clothes. She did not wear off the rack clothing. Her house dresses were made by this person. Her dresses for church were made by this person. I'm trying to remember if my grandma went to the fabric store. I don't even think she did that. I think that they were patterns, and my grandma bought patterns, I believe, and would take them to her seamstress, and her clothes were all bespoke. So I remember having to go with her. I hated it, and we'd have to go sit and wait for my grandma to have a fitting, to have her clothes made. So she did that. And the other thing she did is she was canning person. So I can remember sitting with her and having to snap beans with her and get something ready, or shucking corn and stuff like that. And she would take all this stuff to the cannery, and it was a factory type place, and you gave them their vegetables, and they actually literally put them into metal cans, into tin cans you had to use a can opener to open. And I remember watching the cans going on the conveyor and all that, and the boiling stuff, the vegetables being canned, and you paid to have your stuff canned. My grandmother was, they were Baptist, Southern Baptist, SBC was the church in Fort Mill, South Carolina. Both sides of my family, both my grandparents were part of the textile industry of the South that has been moved. It's all gone now. But my grandfather, my dad's dad worked in the Springs Mills in Fort Mill, South Carolina. He worked on a lathe. He was in the shop, and he played baseball for the mill team. So he was a celebrity. And basically, my grandpa really didn't work in the mill. He lived in upscale housing because of his status as a celebrity ball player. He was really good. So back then it was a big deal. The teams from the different towns played each other, and my grandpa was a star. I mean, I'm just telling you like it is. He was buried with a baseball in his hand because it was some special ball that they put in his hand, and it went down with him. That's who he was. The other side, on my mom's side, my grandfather and my grandmother both worked in the textile mill in Lancaster, South Carolina. And my grandpa worked third shift for about 40 years. He ran an elevator in the mill for 40 years. Same thing, walked up the hill from his house, that house you see in that video, came down that driveway, took a hard right up the hill, across the street to the mill, and worked all night and came home and did that for 40 years. They lived in that house for their entire married life until 1993, when my mom moved him out into her house. And my grandpa died 2 years later, and my grandma died in 97. And third shift is interesting. My dad said to me years later, after, you've got a Willie Mae. Wow, that's awesome. I've got a dear friend, whose mother's name was Willie. She did not like her name. Yeah, Lily Mae was my grandma. But my dad said to me years later, he said he didn't know what my grandpa did, how he did that for 40 years, because he slept most of his life. Because when you work third shift, you have an odd sleeping schedule. You're sleeping when everyone else is awake, and you kind of sleep longer than most people do because just the way the shift's set up. So my dad said he slept most of his adult life away, and my dad was curious about how someone does that. I think it's awesome you guys are communicating with each other in text. I mean, in the comments. It's just so awesome. My goal was not achieved. I love that. I love how TikTok works. The goal was set for subscribers, was not achieved. Those of you who didn't subscribe are going to regret it. There's going to be a subscriber only live, and it's going to be just for Paul, Mary, and Lori. Groovy, don't make daddy. Daddy's about to. You know what a mill is. Yeah, we missed by one. I know. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry. What shirt am I wearing? You're asking about this thing? Whoever asked about this shirt, are you asking about this shirt? Say yes. You're asking about the shirt because I'm going to talk about this shirt. It's a textile mill. Okay, Tom Dutton, what kind of shirt am I wearing? This is a reversible shirt. So this shirt, you can wear it this side or this side. It has buttons. It has buttonholes here, and it has buttons on the same side, and it has buttonholes and buttons on this side. So you can flip it to either side. So it's patterned on one side and gray on the other. Oh, you like it? Thank you. I appreciate that. I wasn't going to wear this because I have this thing on. So this is what I was going to wear, but I'm kind of cold. So I thought I'm going to wear this instead on top of it. So I was asking Steve before I came down here. I'm like, is this gray shirt going to work? This shirt came from Target. I haven't bought clothes from Target in I don't know how many years, but I was in there and I saw this thing and it was reversible. I thought, well, this is great just to wear over a t-shirt, like a shirt jacket. So I bought 3 of them, not 3 like this one, but the other 2 are kind of plaid. I'll wear the other 2 in next lives. You can look at them. I should have brought them all down here. If I'd have known anyone was going to notice his shirt, I would have brought them down here so we could do a fashion show. I'll do it at the craft table on Thursday. We'll wear the shirts. It's a shacket. Exactly. I'm going to bring the shackets out, but they're, these things are like $20. So they're not, they're not the best quality. I think that they hang really weird. So I'm really self-conscious wearing them. So I don't wear them outside the house. You notice everything I'm wearing. Yeah. Look at the t-shirt. This is a long sleeve t-shirt. This came from True Classic. If you want to get some great t-shirts and some great foundational garments, if you know what I'm saying, without getting banned on TikTok, True Classic, awesome. The t-shirts are cut in a certain way that even scrawny-armed guys can look like they have guns. So it can make it look good. And I said the G word here. I got to be careful. Yeah, it's complicated. We notice everything. Yeah. Exactly. You guys notice everything in the background, every little thing. You zoom in on my home address. You send me pictures of my own house. I know what you guys do. Can we age restrict? But then you would be cut out, Groovy. That's the problem. You know, you just don't want to have that happen. Nothing gets by the crew. That is absolutely true. Yeah. I was doing this once. I was doing one of my lives and I was talking about bubbly. Um, bubbly. You know what bubbly is? You pour bubbly. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but you pour bubbly for a celebration. It's a drink and it's bubbly and it's really good. It's delightful. Sometimes very expensive. Made in a certain part of France for the official stuff. Now you know what I'm talking about. I was speaking about it, and in the middle of me blabbing on about how much I like this certain kind, it popped up on the screen just like when I got banned. It said, "You have been age restricted." So it immediately gave me an age restriction because I was talking about bubbly juice. Exactly, that's it. Careful. Go easy on that. You never know what they're going to do. But yeah, we don't know my birth date. Okay, I mean, you guys know, okay, I think you guys know what year I was born, right? Champs. Champs. Champs is how they pronounce it in France. Champs. I'll have some champs, please. Yes, you are right. That is very true. 64 is correct. I'm a 64 baby. I was born in April. April of 64. So now you know that April is the month in which I will turn 60. Jackie, happy birthday. 64 today. Are you crying tears of joy? It's a Jackie Hutton birthday. March of 64. Awesome. Little B, your birthday's April 1st. That's my mom's birthday. August 64. I'm afraid if I tell you guys the day, I mean, then you're going to know everything. You already know my home address. You know my birthday. Next thing you know, all of you guys will become Artful Rogers. There'll be a bunch of duplicates. Reminder, guys, someone out there has duped me here on TikTok. There's 2 fake accounts. They have my picture. They have some of my videos. So don't forget, intable_ and intable1 are not me. So if they start chatting you up and asking you out for dinner, which I know they've already done to somebody, that's not me. Artful Roger, this Artful Roger is not going to be chatting you guys up like that. I'm super duper have boundaries. So I'm not going to, and I use complete English sentences most of the time. So I've seen somebody shared with me some of the communication they were getting, and I could not believe it. And it's embarrassing because it's my face, attached to it. I'm famous. Exactly. I've made it. Exactly. I'm big time now. I'm being copied, duplicated. People are trying to I mean, they are fishing women with my visage. Terrible. So yeah, my birthday is coming up April, the beginning of April. And my birthday is very close to Little B's. Not as much, Tom, not as much as me. No. Much more private. This whole thing for me, this whole thing with me and TikTok was an accident. That's why my name on here is Intable, because I started looking at it during COVID for fun. And back then it was people dancing. That's really what it was. It was a lot of dance videos. It's super fun. There were people making food, and I learned a bunch of stuff on here really fast on TikTok. So I just had my name Intable because I was sitting in the living room setting it up, and I tried coffee table, sofa. I was just looking at stuff in the room, and everything was taken, but Intable wasn't. That's how I got it. And so I never thought I would do it. And I started making videos of my garden. And then Steve suggested, after, I had like maybe 100 people following me, Steve said, why don't you talk on there? If you just use your voice and see what happens. So if you look back to my very early history, you'll find after a few musical videos, there's the very first one at the front of my house, and it's me speaking, and I could barely speak. My voice is shaking. I'm like, there's an awful lot of concrete here, but this is it. I'm just super nervous, but I haven't ever taken it down. But it was funny because he was right. Because as soon as I did that, a bunch of people followed me. And then he told me after that, he said, well, if you'll just get on there with your face and do a video and talk, then more people follow you too, because they'll know who you are. So finally I did it. And now there's 90,200 people following me. Yeah, thanks, Millie. I appreciate that. So yeah, it's come a long way. It absolutely has come a long way. That's for sure. It's a great little story. Like I said earlier in the live, it would be awesome to try to get to 100,000. I was at 70,000 before Christmas, and I had a feeling that the Christmas tree, the TikTok tree, was going to do it. And the TikTok tree, I think, was like 1.2 million views on that video of the TikTok tree, and then a bunch of followers too. So it jetted up 20,000 during Christmas. And anyone who's on here tonight who's wondering, hang in there, because Christmas is pretty awesome and gardening is starting. I am in the garden right now cleaning up. I was going to shoot a video for you guys over the weekend, but I was just too into it and busy, and my hands were dirty, and I'm like, I can't. But the garden is getting prepped, and I think it's going to be pretty spectacular. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun with the gardening. So hang in there for that. But I hopefully will be able to continue doing the lives like this, as we move into the gardening season. But the videos will get better again, because I'm kind of laying off right now. Millie, you dream of my TikTok tree. I dream of my TikTok tree. Absolutely do. Am I into quilts? Is that what you're saying? QIL? Yeah, you are saying quilts. Look at my freaking camera following me. No, I'm not. Show us your piece behind you. Okay, hang on. Yeah, the garden, I saw a video. I watched if you go back to my video history and look around Halloween, and you look at that front, I put a metal scarecrow up in the front yard this year by the front door. I haven't seen that video in a while, but when I looked at it, I told Steve when I did it, I said, I guarantee you in the middle of the bleakest part of winter, I'm going to look at this video and go, I can't believe how pretty this is. Go back and look at it. It is green and purple and orange. It is spectacular. And I don't have a lot to do with that. I plant things, and some things die, some things live, some things thrive, some things don't. Every year it's different, and I'm just as surprised as anyone else. So the piece behind me, this camera's following me, so hopefully stop following me. This thing is really hard to bring forward, but let's see if the camera will go back. Hang on one second. Go back there. This one, it's hard to show it. I'll have to prepare that for you because it's got a glass top on it. I'm afraid if I bring it down, I'm going to clank it. And my camera, unfortunately, is in follow mode, so it's being weird. This is one that you might be interested in. See my camera following me? There's the microphone. So this one right here. You remember this one? My camera's looking for my face. But yeah, this, and I don't know if this is, yeah, there it goes. It's got the bubbling coffee cup here, suspended from the old percolator. You've got a light bulb back here, and then a light in the top. So this was my original design that I did when I was Ben Cliff. That was my artist name. And Ben Cliff was, I operated or did work under my Ben Cliff name for about 8 years, 10 years, something like that. And we just dissolved the LLC at the end of 2023. So the new LLC, when formed, will probably be Artful Roger, will be the new name for it. But right now, this is a leftover from back then. So I just haven't ever sold it. But these sold for, I think they were $600, $800. That's what these are. Yeah. So this is a vintage coffee can, a vintage 1950s percolator, a new stainless steel cup. So yeah, this was called Rocket Fuel. Is the name of it. So this is the only one. Actually, I take that back. There's a second one over there too, but it's on a lamp base. It's not on a coffee can. Make sure that stays up there. Turn that off. Okay. And I'm back. I have not with AeroGarden. Have not done that. Yeah, it could be. It could be. But my kitchen, my house upstairs, you guys have seen it. It's very traditional up there. And I like antique stuff. And that was back in my rustic industrial time, 10 years ago. And so I'm just not into that anymore. But I think it's a cool design for sure. Yeah. Yeah, Rocket Fuel was a name that I gave it. Then I, just like you guys, when I was on Thank you, Chipper. When I was on Etsy, I had a following of people on there as well. People who would buy stuff, people who communicated with me, and I would make lighting for particular people. It's very much like what's happening here with TikTok, but it was a different group. But I would make stuff for them. They would purchase, and there was a woman I made a comp. I used to make those really tall, and if you notice, that one's pretty compacted. It's because of her. She wanted it to fit under her kitchen cabinets in her kitchen on the counter, and she's the one that kind of, with her input, helped me understand how to get the to build it lower. And when I built it lower, shorter, I started selling them more and more. More people bought them because they were too tall, and I didn't know that. But she helped me understand that. So I always think of her, when I look at those, especially that one, because that one would slide underneath the 16-inch counter for sure. Yeah, they did have names, and I can't remember all of them now. Sarah, S. Stephen, Little B. Yes, they're cleaning ladies actually. There's sometimes it's a person that we've been working with for many years, and she brings in a crew sometimes with her. It's typically two people, but sometimes three or four. The reason, yes, and let me tell you what we don't do. We don't have anybody doing laundry. We don't have anybody making our beds. We don't with that all stuff we handle ourselves. But before the cleaning people come, we make sure that we put away everything that's breakable. It all goes into cabinets and counters and put away so they can just easily dust and clean, and then we can put all the little breakable stuff back out. Because stuff, we've had things get broken, and I don't want people to feel bad about breaking something. They're certainly not paying for that, but I don't want them to feel bad about it. So we put away things that could break just to make sure it doesn't happen. And if it breaks, we break it, and hey, everybody's good. Yeah, I used to do that. I don't do it anymore. I do not clean before they clean. Yeah, I think they broke one thing, and that's why I decided at that point to start taking it away to keep them from stressing out. Is this camera stuck? It is. See, now it doesn't want to follow because now it's looking over here. Camera, come on. I can't touch it. Stupid thing. You're making a quilt. That's awesome. We have one quilt here that was made by one of Steve's aunts, and she's passed, and the quilt is super special. We call it by her name, Susie. So Susie is on the on the primary bedroom bed. Steve is going to join. He's thinking about it. And seriously, that he's even thinking about it is such a big deal. He is close to maybe showing up as a phone guest. I don't know. What was a dumb question I asked? What was it? Did I answer the dumb question with a dumb answer? User 4624. No, he does not. He's famous enough, I think. Yeah, it will be nice to meet Steve at some point. He's The thing about it is, like I said, this accidentally happened, and he's just he was down here earlier. He was in here, actually in the frame of this very screen, goofing around, and then he went upstairs before my computer shut down, and I had to. I was having to do an update. No, I asked about the quilts. It was totally random. Okay. Oh, did I make quilts? Yeah. Well, you must have seen the word quilt. Yeah, I know. He knows that, Chipper. He knows that too, Groovy. He absolutely does. He's just a little bit, it's just not his scene to be on here. I'm all about your comments right now. I'm dried up out of stories for tonight. I'm surrounded by teddy bears and coffee pot lamps and bad poetry. Oh, 4624. Okay. I love them, Groovy. I think I love them. And one of my dear friends is on this live tonight, and she knows that. Steve and I are going to Palm Springs at the end of the month. And you know that Palm Springs is the home of those houses, those mid-century modern, amazing houses. So I'm really looking forward to seeing a few of those while I'm there. Yes, I have the two here, two teddy bears here, and some other stuff. It's addictive. It is. I'll tell Steve you said that, Chipper. You didn't answer that way. Okay, got it. And 462 is Rob, not Roy. Okay, Rob Roy is a drink, I think. Oh, you mean a quick live when I'm in Palm Springs? That's a good idea, Little B. I could actually do that, couldn't I? I could really do it. I should do a live poolside. That's what I should do. And get age restricted. I can just restrict the age on it anyway, especially because if I'm by a pool, I'm going to have something in my hand that it's not for kids. Oh, you just left Palm Springs. Oh, well, I can't wait to get down there. Rob Roy. Yeah, Palm Springs is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I haven't been there in about 10 years, but I used to go fairly often. Meet up in Palm Springs would be absolutely awesome. It really would be, for sure. Involving an umbrella. Yeah, that's right. You know how I'm thinking, Chipper. I went to Mexico once. I won a trip down there when I was in sales, and because it was all paid, I mean, it cost me anything to go because it was a sales award that I had won. I stayed in the pool. I had one of those swim up bars. It's the most heavenly thing I've ever done. You never had to get out of the pool. You just went over and sat at the bar stools were in the pool. I know everybody's probably done that. I drank more drinks out of coconuts and pineapples. I don't even know. I can't really remember much about it because of that. But I do remember sitting in the pool the entire time, getting out occasionally because I had to, for obvious reasons. But there's nothing like one of those kind of bars. I love those things. Just kind of swim over, get up on that little bar stool, tile bar stool, sit on it, order a drink, watch them shake it, and do all that. I have high hopes for Palm Springs. Yes. I had a very good tan after that trip. That was such fun. It was a Hilton resort too, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what it was in Puerto Vallarta. Yes, guys, thanks for tapping the screen. The tapping sends up the hearts, although on my laptop I don't see hearts. I just have hopes and prayers that you guys have done it. Yeah, so looking at who's here. Yeah, I'm looking at stats. 82 people in here, 3,200 views, 5 new followers, 6 new subscribers. So I've got to do sub only. I have no choice. Yeah. I don't see I see comments, but yeah, I can't hear. Retired. Thanks for joining. You made it almost to the end. You're awesome. Thank you for joining. So good to see your name here. I appreciate you participating. Good night. K thumbs. Yes. Oh, don't say that. I'm going to have to order one of those. I'm hoping. I have high hopes for Palm Springs. Hopefully it's not like I'll go with the flow, but I do hope that there's an opportunity for such things. He's tired of traveling now. Yeah, he just wants to take it easy. Yeah. Oh, you're hearing the chair? It's because it's an inexpensive COVID chair that I bought for it's an old office chair that I put down here. You hear that thing? It's awful. Trixie Mattel. This chair is terrible and it's so squeaky. I'm going to have to change it. Paul, you're taking off. I'm glad you joined. Exactly, Tom. That's exactly what it sounds like. We were doing that in the last live. I was sliding around in this with a pair of jeans on, and I don't think it's, yeah, it is squeaking. There it is. And the face I'm making doesn't help any. The chair's kind of got a personality of its own. It's speaking on its own. Sure, it's the chair. Yeah. I've got sense. You're not noticing it. I'm not noticing it either, but I'm sure people become aware of it. I actually clicked into it. Like I told you, I don't look at lives much, but I clicked into this guy's live who was doing something similar to what I'm doing tonight, just reading comments. And when I did click in, that's what was happening in his chair. It was squeaking and he was doing the same thing. He was talking about it. Where are we now? Where are we on this? I can't see it. On this dashboard, I do not see. Are we close to 50,000? On my phone, I can see it. But on here, I cannot see it. I don't know where it is. We're at 46,000. Let's tap it to 50, and then we'll wrap it. Because it's getting close to 9 o'clock. It's a school night. And I know you guys can do it. We'll let Lori and Mary determine when we get to 50 so we can call it quits. It's been awesome. Guys, I appreciate you letting me share. Not that you could stop me because I'm in control here. I'm the only one that can talk. To talk about my mother and to share stories about my teddy bears. I did not expect to be telling the story about my mother and getting emotional, but I did, and it's okay. It's all good. But thank you for that. And I'm glad you like the chair, Ebby. Thank you. The chair is quite happy. 50's getting here. We're getting close to 50. Again, I can't see it, so I'm trusting you guys to let me know. Yeah, you guys stop tapping. I said that the other night. Please keep tapping. Yeah, I'm flying everyone here for a meetup. That's what I'm doing. Yes. And it's just Roger, LOL, Joan. Yeah, well, tell your boys hello. No, keep tapping. Get us to 50, 49,000. Yeah. So I want to remind you too, if you use my email address that's in my profile if you want to communicate with me directly. If you are in Atlanta sometime, a lot of people come through, let me know that. And maybe we can meet up, we can see each other at least in person, so that's a possibility. I'm going to repeat this for everyone out there. I'm Artful Roger with a D, happily married to Steve. And that's who I am. Did we make it to 50? We did it. Guys, it's been awesome. I know we're to 50 and some of you are like, no, it means it's the end. But yeah, it's a school night, back to the old corporate job in the morning. But it's so good seeing all of you. I'm glad you're interacting. And the next live, there'll be pop-up lives. Well, there's a live on Thursday night for sure at 7. And there'll be pop-up lives on the weekend perhaps. Okay, guys? I hope you have a great night. And we will be talking on Thursday.